In today's video, we're going to talk about 10 different items which may be life-saving in an emergency situation which you probably haven't thought to put in your bug-out bag or home survival kit. So, let's get to it. Many of the items that we're going to talk about today are various types of medications, and if you want more information about the Shelf Life Extension Program, which was a study that was conducted by the United States military in 1985 that showed that many medicines can be used for years after their expiration date, check out the link in the description section below. First on the list is a pregnancy test. Getting pregnant after disaster strikes could be a disaster unto itself. Knowing for certain whether or not you're pregnant is going to bring you some peace of mind, and it's going to help you to strategize and plan for the future. A confirmation of a pregnancy can really change your range of options and long-term planning after a grid down event, so this is absolutely important. Now, I should also say that these are not 100% guaranteed to work all the time, so you may want to get a few just in case. Ideally, proper family planning will prevent any unexpected accidents from happening. But because you may conceive before, or maybe even coincidentally during a disaster, although that would be a great story to tell your child if you survived it all in the future, it would be a very challenging state of affairs if you didn't have any certainty whether or not you were pregnant. Up next is caffeine pills. Now, emergencies of the epic proportions that we discuss on this channel may require you to stay awake well beyond your comfort zone. And when all else fails, caffeine, ephedrine, or some other over-the-counter stimulant may help you out in this respect. Another option here is pre-workout formulas. Although sleep deprivation does have its drawbacks on long-term health and can even make you hallucinate if you push it too far, which may be counterproductive to your survival, sometimes the risk of falling asleep when on security detail in a post-grid down SHTF environment may outweigh the risks of sleep deprivation. These are relatively cheap, very potent in their effect, and they're going to prevent you from falling asleep at the wheel. Up next is some sort of sleep aid like diphenhydramine, also known as Nital. Now, there may be anxious people within your group who just cannot sleep for the life of them, and it's going to start to impact their health. With the help of this type of sleep aid, those people will be able to get to sleep a little bit easier, and it's going to help you do what you have to do a proper security detail without having to try to control an anxious person. The obvious drawbacks of using something like this is that if there was a bump in the night and you had to awaken that person, they would likely be hard to wake up and groggy. But in some circumstances, it's worth it if they can get a good night's sleep and can be well refreshed to survive the next day. Up next is something you should probably stockpile in large amounts, and that is Vaseline. Vaseline has 101 uses in a survival situation, and it also has many different medicinal uses, whether it's for chapped lips, moisturizing wounds or dry skin, starting fires, or even oiling your guns. Vaseline is a survivalist best friend out there in the wilderness. As trivial as cracked or dry skin may seem, a crack in your skin can lead to an infection, which could give you long-term complications. Now, up next is something we can't say or show without this video getting dinged because it's still illegal in some places, but hey, the green stuff is not illegal up here in Canada. And if it's legal where you live, then you might want to consider putting some of this stuff away because there are numerous medical uses for it, and having some on hand could be useful in a grid down predicament. Even having some seeds on hand if you wanted to grow some of this stuff might not be a bad idea. Again, there's a lot of medicinal uses, and because it's relatively easy to grow, this should be a no-brainer. And there may even be some post-apocalyptic barter applications, if you know what I mean. Up next is something everybody should have in their household, and that is aspirin. The stress of all hell breaking loose and society crumbling around you could lead to increased risk of heart attack for many people. This is called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. The chronic stress of having to trudge through the wasteland with marauders constantly at your six can lead to high blood pressure, which is going to increase the risk of a heart attack. Aspirin has been known to help prevent heart attacks in people with coronary artery disease and in those populations that have a higher than average risk. Now, this is not meant to be medical advice, and you should always consult with your physician beforehand for the most up-to-date information. But if you do feel that you are having some sort of attack, people are advised to chew a 325 milligram tablet. And of course, call 911 if it's available. Up next are some sort of cough suppressant medication. If you are sick and in a high-risk situation, for security purposes, suppressing the symptoms of a cold, if only temporarily, may be necessary to avoid drawing unwanted attention to oneself. Could you imagine trying to do a stealth scavenging mission in the burned out cities, only to be mobbed by hordes of the undead because you couldn't contain a sneeze? I don't think so. Make sure you have your cough medication. Up next is Benadryl. Now, antihistamines like Benadryl are going to be used to treat allergic reactions. And after disaster strikes, you may be exposed to foreign environments, foreign foods, foreign water, and even medication that's going to trigger some sort of allergic reaction that's going to make life unbearable. Having this stuff on hand may help alleviate some of these symptoms, if only temporarily. Now, up next is something called Imodium, aka Loperamide. Now, I know a lot of the die-hard survivalists out there are saying to themselves, I'm not a wimp, my bowels are going to be locked up tight even in the most stressful of situations. But the fact is that when traveling under stress, even chronic stress, your body typically responds pretty bad to the situation. A condition that's loosely referred to as traveler's diarrhea is a legitimate dangerous thing to have to endure in an emergency situation. Diarrhea can potentially lead to dehydration, which is going to be doubly bad when water is in short supply. In addition to that, if you're eating things that you wouldn't normally eat in order to survive and drinking from natural water sources, you run the risk of getting sick. This will lead to diuretic symptoms. Imodium is going to work by slowing down your digestive system and gut movements to prevent you from expelling all the H2O from your body. Up next is ibuprofen. Now, the apocalypse is going to be rigorous work for a lot of people, whether you're bugging out on foot or sweltering under the heat of the sun while you chop wood and work in the garden all day. In one of these situations, you can't afford to be a bench warmer, so anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen are going to be your friend. They are exceptionally helpful when paired with acetaminophen, aka Tylenol, for things like a toothache, for instance. The only downside to ibuprofen that I've found in my own personal experience is that ibuprofen may help mask the pain, but the injury is still going to be there the next day. So take it easy so you don't make the problem worse. Up next are antibiotic ointments. Now, in addition to wound cleaning agents like hydrogen peroxide or even alcohol, this may be one of the most important things in your kit because a bacterial infection in a Mad Max world could lead to long-term complications, the loss of a limb, or even death. Up next are vitamins and minerals. The specific symptoms of vitamin and mineral deficiency are too numerous to name, but needless to say, you should try to have your bases covered with respect to this. If you're like me and you live near the boreal forest, then you know that vitamin C is everywhere in pine tree needles. But things like vitamin A, the family of vitamin Bs, vitamin D, and even vitamin E and all of the minerals may be in short supply. So make sure you have an ample stockpile of vitamins and minerals on hand. Up next are over-the-counter localized anesthetics, which are going to help you numb topical pain. Now, the stuff that the dentist actually injects into your mouth before they extract a tooth, that stuff can only be purchased by professionals in most countries, but you can get it in its topical form. It tends to go by the name benzocaine, lidocaine. I'm sure there's another cane that we're probably forgetting about, but I have a feeling if we talk about that one, we're gonna get a lot of people in trouble. So let's just leave it at that. Regardless, you may want to look into the cane family for targeted pain control. Last but not least, make sure you have your pets covered, especially your fish. You can get these things called fish antibiotics that are great for fish. They're available in a bunch of different varieties: amoxicillin, cenflexin, penicillin, ciprofloxacin, dioxycycline. Now, these are not intended for human use, and I must repeat, these are not intended for human use. Even though they're nearly identical in appearance and even made in the same factory as the stuff for humans, these are not intended for human use. So use them on fish only. And don't forget, please apply common sense, do some research, consult with your physician always before taking any medication. I hope you found this video useful today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy this content. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com. The best quality products at the best prices. Use discount code SURVIVALPREPPER, all caps, all one word, for 10% off. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.